Okay, thanks everybody. Chapter 8 is about formula rearrangement. So today, what we need to learn? We need to learn how to rearrange a formula. Okay. That's what we're learning. Why do we know how to? Why do we need to learn this? Why do we need to learn how to rearrange a formula? So it can help you to work different things out. Yeah, for sure. Can someone give me an example? Like, yeah.
That means so like you can put the extra
So you can move things around. Yeah. It does mean that we can change things around. Right. This equation here, C equals M over Y. I don't know. It could represent the cost in terms of the, I don't know, magnets you produce and the. Let's change it to a Kaylin example. Like a pilot, okay, might need to do some calculations in terms of the fuel, in terms of the distance they're traveling, in terms of the number of passengers they've got. And they might have a formula that tells them how much fuel they need. But then they might want to change the calculations and go, well, how many passengers could I have if I have this much fuel? Now, rearranging formulas is done. I mentioned it last week that my cousin-in-law, he works for Jetstar. He has to do these maths calculations before he launches his plane on a Jetstar flight. So that's what I have to do. If he worked for Qantas, he didn't have to do it because they pay other people to do it. Because Jetstar's a cheap airline, they make their pilots do it. Maths, it's important. Okay, let's have a look at this. In these questions, we want to make Y the subject of this. At the moment, Y is not the subject. The subject means the very first thing. That's what we mean when we're making something the subject. At the moment, Y is being multiplied by 3, and we're also adding 2x. So when we're making something the subject, it means that all it's going to look like is Y equals something. Okay? It just means that you've just got Y equals and then the rest. So what could be our first step for this question here to isolate Y to have it by itself? What might be the first thing we do? Divide it by 3. You could think to divide by 3 because it's currently timesing by 3, but we can't do that yet because the 2x is there. So I guess that's a bit of a hint and a giveaway. We need to get rid of this 2x. So first step is to take 2x. And if we take 2x from one side, what do we need to do to the other side?
Take it from the other side.
Take it from the other side. Cancel, cancel. What are we left with? 3y. 12 minus 2x. Now we want y to be the subject. Y is not the subject yet. 3y is the subject at the moment. Divide by 3. What we do to one side, we have to do the other. Y equals 12 minus 2x all over 3. That's our answer. We know that we've reached the solution because it's y equals something. That's the subject. Okay? So if you're making it the subject, that's basically saying write it in a form where it's y equals. Again, this could be like a pilot question where they're calculating something so that they don't crash their airplane. Let's have a look at question 2. Is y the subject of that equation? No? What's currently the subject of that equation? C is. Yeah, C is at the start. We need to rearrange it. Alright. Y is currently over here. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the sides. Because I want y to be on the left. We can do that, can't we? You can swap the sides. Okay. It's totally fine. Things are equal. Now, we want y to be by itself. But at the moment, we've got m over y equals c. When when you've got the unknown on the denominator here, have a watch of this. Can we rewrite the c as just c over 1? Do you agree? All right. And do you agree that if we have fractions, say if I said that 3/4 is equal to 3/4, do you agree with me? Could I then also flip these fractions? 4/3 equals 4/3. Is that also true? Yeah. Okay, so it works for a simple example, so it's going to work for algebra too. So that means we can rewrite these as y/m equals 1/c. We can just flip them, as long as you flip both. Okay. Y is not yet the subject because it's currently being divided by m. What are we going to need to do to get rid of that divided by m? Times it. Good. Let's times that side by m. Let's times that side by m. Oops, I put equals, but it should be a therefore. Okay, I've got my eraser. What can I cancel out? What can I go boom boom? The m's. And here we've got 1/c times by m. How can we write that? 1/c times by m. All right. M just means m/1. Is that right?
Yeah.
And when you're timesing fractions, we just multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. 1 times m is m over c times 1 is c. Is y the subject? Yes, because it's at the start. Yes. Let's do one more. We did one similar to this yesterday. We want y to be the subject of this one here.
Yeah.
What is currently the subject of this one? Yes, sure. We need to flip the sides, don't we? Swap the sides so that y is on the left. It's going to make it easier. Y is here. And what is it currently being multiplied by? It's currently being multiplied by g. And it's also being multiplied by 1/2. Let's deal with the 1/2 first. The half, we don't want that to be there. So how are we going to get rid of that half? Yeah, we're going to times it by 2. Timesing it by 2 is going to get rid of that half. Look at this. Timesing by 2 is going to cancel out that there. So we're just going to be left with gy squared equals s times 2 is 2s. Now, g times y squared. How do we get rid of that g? Divided by g. That cancels that out. Now, how do we get rid of the y squared? Square root, good. Square root of 2s over g. Now, it's the square root, but technically it's the positive or negative square root there. Because when you're doing a square root, you need to put that plus and minus sign there. So for example, the square root of 25 isn't just 5, it's also negative 5. It's negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So that's why we put the plus and minus sign there. Unless it tells us that it's got to be a positive. All right. I'll go through that question in a sec.
It's right. Yeah.